In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 tools that I use to manage a 200-person organization while only spending about 5 hours per week in total in management. And this is relevant for you whether you have a multi-100-person organization or you're just getting started, because these still principles apply to everyone in their business no matter the size. So number 1 is, you'll see here, a org chart. I like to call it an accountability chart because it's who is accountable to who and what are they accountable for. So you can see there's different departments. There's marketing, HR, sales, finance, operations, tech, and the people in there, they have different levels of leadership. So if you're just starting off, you may be a technician, someone who's doing frontline work. When you start get promoted, you may lead other technicians while also doing the work yourself, because no one is just a manager. Just managers don't make a ton of sense. So above that, then you might have something like an operations officer of some kind. So it's chief revenue officer who's in control of sales and marketing. Those are revenue related. Chief operations officer, so the person who's actually responsible for fulfillment of that thing. And then the CFO, or financial officer, who's responsible for making sure those two stay out of trouble and that we're managing our cash flows properly so that we can predict cash flows into the future. So those are the people who are accountable to, and I meet with each one of these people every single week. And what do we talk about on those meetings? Well, great question. So we have what's called a WIP report. This WIP report is actually led by the person who's reporting to me. It's their reporting to me. In this WIP report, we will go over what they're responsible for and how it's going, a very detailed level of what's going. Not just a, hey, yeah, things are going well. You want a specific measurable outcome for someone to know if they're performing well as knowing, are we aligned on what we're doing? Hey, do you know that we're going to double or triple this year? If you do know that, then what are we doing? And that's where corporate planning comes into play, where you're having a giant document over what inputs do you need and what outputs are you going to get from that? How many sales calls do you need to take? How many of those need to close? All of those sorts of things. So that is what it is. That's what a WIP report is. We meet every single week, and it's usually scheduled for about 30 minutes, but it goes over. So oftentimes we'll go 45 minutes, maybe an hour, if there's a lot to talk about. And then this is all stored in Google Drive. So we have all these documents in Google Drive, and they're all stored in their own little sections. Here you have finance WIP report, marketing WIP report, operations, sales, and tech. And the great thing is you can also put this inside of an AI model and have AI models be trained on what is going on in your business. So there's a lot of insights that can be gained by having a WIP report for every single person in this organization. Now, on the WIP report, I kind of talked about the things that are going well or not going well. So let's talk about number 3. Number 3 is how we measure what they're doing in their role. So as an example here, I have SOPs and KPIs for each one of their roles. Now, if you're confused about this, I have a pinned comment that actually goes over a prompt of how to find out what KPIs or SOPs would be needed for your organization or what level you're at. So as you can see, there's links to all of these, and each one of these has a link to their own folder with their SOPs in it, as well as their KPIs. So an example here is sales is a very easy one to understand. So if you're an SDR team, maybe it's what's your close percentage? So do you have a 35% or above close rate? If the answer is yes, fantastic, you're on target. Or if you're under that, then you're below target. How do we get you there? So those are the KPIs that would be involved, and every single role has different KPIs that you can go over. So ops has more, you have KPIs that are relevant to your roles. Now, SOPs are how they fulfill what they're currently doing. So if their job is to close deals, then how in the world do they do that? How do they show up to the calls? What tools do they need to show up to those calls? What does success look like on those calls? And then what does the handoff look like when they get closed? So I love KPIs and SOPs. I think they're super helpful, especially for a larger organization that's expanding fast, because in order to grow, you want that tribal knowledge that's in everyone's head to be written down on a piece of paper, so that when your company size doubles or triples, as you do in growth organizations, which is what we specialize in, high growth organizations, then everyone knows either how they could help someone else, or if they're confused on what they need to do, then an SOP will allow them to be able to see how to complete their tasks. So that's why we use SOPs and KPIs, and that's why it only takes me 5 hours every single week to manage 200 people, because these are the people who are in the organization who are empowered to do the job. So if I've promoted them to some sort of officer, some executive level position, they are empowered enough to be able to make decisions on my behalf using data, because we're all aligned on our mission, vision, and values and our goals. So hey, our goal is to triple this year. We are going to triple by doing these things. That is not an implied guarantee of any kind. Most people don't even get these results, so I want to be very clear. because doubling and tripling businesses is very hard. You need the right systems and you have the right people. These are just a fraction of the systems that we use to be able to scale businesses, and the right people, which is the people who we've spent a very long time, almost a decade now, building our Rolodex of executives that can go in and help scale companies. So if you are an established company that's looking to double or even triple this year, we would like to work with you. Go ahead and look below, and there's going to be a link that you can be able to apply to work with us, and I will see you on the other side.